Hi, friends and family. Today on the Purple Couch, we're going to deep dive into sensory processing issues. What does that look like? Is it in your house? And could this be the cause of all those temper tantrums going on? Yes, I know, the meltdowns. But is it a meltdown? Is it a temper tantrum? Who knows? And what is causing it? What's the function of the behavior? Today, sensory processing, from our couch to yours.
Welcome to Pam and the Purple Couch podcast, hosted by Pamela Furr, with our co-hosts, Dr. Manny Rodriguez, Missy Owen, and Loki DiPristo. Together, we're going to dive deep into topics such as education, neurodiversity, autism, and applied behavioral analysis. Remember to click subscribe today so you don't miss out on any future episodes.
Hi, friends and family, and here we are on the Purple Couch. Today, we're going to go deep diving into sensory processing. The reason we're deep diving into this because a lot of times sensory processing issues can cause triggers with your child that you're not even aware of. So let's talk about this.
Not just children. This is universal. This applies to adults, to teenagers, to grandpas and grandmas,
animals even too.
Oh, that's a great yes.
It's really just understanding what is it that individual, that organism, because we said animals.
Yes, organisms.
So what are they going through? What's the situation? What's the environment? What's the context? So we were just I wish we did what we were just talking about prior to starting the recording, but just even this situation of filming a podcast, there's a lot of sensory going on here, right?
Well, we talked about our shirt. Yeah. We talked about making sure that we had to sit where we weren't just this hair, Chinese New Year red on. We're filming this today on Chinese New Year. So a big shout out to all of our families that are celebrating Chinese New Year. By the time this post, it'll be a little delayed, but we are in full celebration mode today. But yes, when we were talking about the lights, Loki was even sitting down and I'm like, Loki, sit up. And he's like, the lights, it's so bright in here.
Right. I mean, it's kind of really intense.
But it is.
And also the temperature, right?
Yes.
We're in a studio. We turn off the AC just so that there's no noise, and that sets a mood.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
And
I mean, that sort of was something we've been accustomed to for over 3 seasons now. So it's
we did. We adapted. And that is what our kids do too. They adapt. You used to not be able to go into, I'm trying to, how he doesn't like the big name of the, not grocery store, but all-in-one stores. Well, there was one that had a big, huge Target on the front of the building, and we could go in there, but we could not go into the other one the big competitor with a big W on the building. So same type of stores, but they use different lights. So we'd go into one, and he could actually, as a baby, now I'm telling you this is no joke, as a baby, not where there's any vocal expression. We should have known it even then. As soon as we walked into the one, I would say less than 5 minutes, the screaming would start. And then one of us would have to take him to the car, and then the other one would finish the shopping until we would go over to the competitor and realize, okay, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And it's the high frequency, the sound, and the fluorescent light bulbs that would set him off.
Oh, and just walking in when the doors open, there's that sound that air, the AC's loud, the carts are loud. It's a lot when you first walk in there.
Correct.
I think with this topic too, so we can understand sensory processing at a very basic level, things that we're very accustomed to. Changes of weather, changes of temperature, changes of sound. What do you do if it's too cold? You put on a sweater.
Correct.
That's pretty common, right? Or if it's too hot, you take off your sweater. Things like that. I think what we're going to get into is the sensory processing issues that we don't quickly understand.
Oh
yeah.
Why does a child start screaming at a noise level?
Yeah.
What?
Let's just go right into it, Manny. Let's think about this. And we can do this all the way universally from toddler
Adulthood
to geriatrics.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? Because, I know in ABA, we start with ABA as babies and we end with ABA in geriatrics. Yeah. Why? Because it's still those skill sets. It's that basic taking care of, tell, show, do, let's repeat this, and sensory issues come into play. Yeah. We've seen kids in our early intervention center that it can be a sock, the stitching in the sock by the toe. How about pants? you know, tags,
The big brands.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great one. So Loki, if you notice, even on the podcast, does not wear T-shirts or items that have brand logos or anything on that. That is still a sensory part because visually for him, he's like, nope, not going to do it.
Couldn't that be rather just an opinion rather than a sensory sort of ordeal?
Well, it could be if you hadn't started this before you were speaking. So even as a toddler, it was very plain for you. Even when you got to go, and I want to say about 8 or 9, when you were speaking and you were getting your own self-awareness of, well, I want this shirt, I want that shirt.
I just never really, even to today, don't really like designs that
Correct.
if I'm going outside, I don't want to have big bold letters saying like a joke.
You don't want to be
or
a billboard?
something.
Like attention grabbing.
Yeah, something I'd see like on an advertisement or something, because I feel like wearing just plain colors feels more comfortable in a sense.
Yes.
If I want to wear something like that, I'd probably wear it inside the house, if anything.
So what you're describing, you know, when we talk about the sensory of what you're describing is you've learned this and you have now created your own set of preferences.
Yeah.
Right. So,
but I still don't think it's sensory.
Well, it might not be today. Now it's a learned habit, right?
Correct.
Preference. But when you first started this, when you first established this kind of situational awareness of like what you like, what you dislike, it probably was very sensory.
Don't look at me.
It's a visual sense.
Don't read my shirt.
I mean,
why are people paying attention to me? You know, we talk about how brilliant our kids are that have these neurodivergent abilities because look at the coping skills.
And it's a visual sensory perception.
I do want to say, hold on the topic of that, I wanted to interrupt you because even when I was 8 years old and I still knew what the text designs were kind of technically, I just didn't like them because I don't think it was like for the attention. It was mostly due to the fact that like I mainly got gamer t-shirts
because you liked them.
Oh, you're
like
going.
Visually.
It's like he's reading my mind because think about how many times have you gotten your kid a present?
Oh, it's really wrong then.
Yeah. So
Like-
he's just giving you
like
the stare.
Like imagine, okay, no, hold on, sorry, I'm gonna go on a random tangent real quick.
Rampage.
Imagine trying to have your kid like, oh yeah, no, they like this video game. And then I don't know how parents think of this. The ladder of which you go from this person likes this video game, and yet don't question what do they like about the video game, what character they like about the video game. They just look up video game name shirt.
Okay, so Loki, let me rewind you on that. Number one, I completely understand with how you can verbalize that right now. Number two, all the parents that are sitting out there are appreciative because you just solved the puzzle to why holidays, birthdays, present giving time. Why doesn't he like it? Why doesn't she like it? Why did they have a meltdown? Because I got them their favorite game shirt. Well, now you know. Ask them why do they like the game.
They're not going to like if a kid likes Mario and you get them like a Mario mug, what do you expect them to do with it?
Drink out of it.
What else?
That's what they like, right?
Yes, my two favorite things, Mario and drinking, and
you can put hot cocoa in it.
So
on Christmas, on your birthday.
So a lot of what Loki's describing right now, I think, is focused on visual sensory.
Yes.
Right.
Well,
so this is things that you see that you either liked or disliked, things that you preferred, didn't prefer.
Again, which I still think, while there may be some sensory aspect to it, I feel like that could just be tied to like an early development of like an opinion or preference,
personal preference.
So I agree,
Would you-
but I also want to take it a step further and go even deeper than that.
Well,
So
I want
think
to
of
say
like-
one more thing.
Okay, go ahead.
Because this was something I was going to keep until like the shirt discussion and the whole opinion sort of ordeal. I would like to say this towards more of the adults, because if a kid likes orange more than like red, because if I say pink, it's obviously because that's a girl color. But if an average boy, male kid likes orange more than red, would you consider that a sensory or development of an opinion?
Preference.
Sorry, preference.
So I would say there's both. So
Yeah.
I don't say it's one or the other. So basically, whether it's sound, sight, taste, right? Those are all sensory related issues or sensory related things that child is teaching us what they prefer. So it's both. So for example, we have a young boy right now in our early intervention program that loves the color pink. Pink,
Okay.
everything
I
pink,
love this.
right? Pink,
Okay.
pink, pink, pink. Now, if you show him black versus pink and we say, which one do you like? He's going to point to pink,
Yeah,
right?
because that's what he likes.
Right. Now, does that mean black scares him? Does that
No.
mean black? We
Yeah.
don't know because he doesn't tell us, right? All we know is that sensory related, he goes for pink, and preferences, he'll go for pink,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? So I think it's both.
Well,
And as they grow, they're going to be able to vocalize like you
Yeah.
are now, what's in here that we don't see, right?
So, being that I'm Loki's mom, I'm going to show you parents how to go straight to the core of something like this, okay? You get to see this live in action. Loki, if you close your eyes,
all right, fine.
okay? And I handed you a shirt that had all of your Fortnite, Overwatch, all of the stuff that you despise on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the other hand, I handed you a shirt that had no writing on it at all.
Mm-hmm.
Without your senses, how would you know which shirt to wear? You wouldn't. That's how this is a sensory issue. Microphone drop.
What? hold on, no, hold on. If you just practically said, okay, if I gave you two shirts and I was blind and deaf and couldn't feel anything.
I removed all of your senses.
Yeah.
You wouldn't care what shirt you had on.
Yes. And would that mean preference itself as a concept, as a sensory?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Your senses are what give you your preference.
Okay.
Because based on your senses, you will then understand what you like and what you do not like. It's the same way with our feelings. And this goes hand in hand. So when we have a child that is insensory, your feelings will dictate where your alignment is.
Yeah.
So if you have a child that has socks on, this is where we go into, is this a meltdown or is this a temper tantrum? Because sensory then will cause irritation.
Yeah.
So now I can't focus on anything else because I'm focusing on this sock, and this sock is really bothering
Yeah,
me.
because
and
it's
I'm
like
having an
one
issue.
string inside the sock.
Yes.
Yeah.
So do you think I'm paying any attention to what you're saying right now? Do you think I'm paying attention? No.
Yeah, every parent can relate to what you're talking about because we can all say, I know the difference between my child's crying versus my child having a meltdown.
Ooh, yes, indeed.
No control over their body and their...
Well, and let's look at that.
Mhm.
As a parent, you have learned through your senses to determine whether that child is in crisis or if that child is upset because they were told no.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a different scream. You, I'm sure, is because you've got that age bracket now where Miss Independent is really coming into her own. How does that affect your household and that tone? Because the tone is a sensory.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and most kids, too, you can look at them and when you see that, the build up to the scream, okay, that's real. You're probably hurt. There's pain. But then there's a difference between the whiny sound and then the wanting something and then just the tired and sleepy wanting attention. The dog walked past a toy that she wanted and got a little upset about it. But I think, too, something is that we have to realize is that once we know what the sensory issues that kiddos have, that they also know things that they don't like. And then we see a lot of avoidant behaviors come out.
Very nice.
So like myself, for example, if I sit in the backseat in a car, I'm going to get sick. So it's a situation that we're carpooling someplace and I'm not the one driving and someone else claimed the front seat. I'm going to avoid going on that car trip completely.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Go and hide, go do something else. With our kiddos, they have other ways of avoiding. That could be the tantrum. It could be them running into their room. It could be them leaving the building because they're trying to avoid something they know will make them be uncomfortable based on whatever the sensory sensation can be with that.
And I just want to tune in to Missy's husband right here. Did you hear? She will escape. She will avoid if she is not.
He's well aware.
I'm just, I bring that into your all's vision, like Loki would say, bring it into your scope here, because even as adults, she's already acknowledging that because of her sensory issues, she has preferential determination of where she wants to sit. And if she's not in that seat, she's going to avoid, escape. What's the function of the behavior? To get away from it so that she can then have her preference. And see how the sensory and preference, Loki, still all comes together?
Again, I still want to say that I feel like there is a difference between, like, at least a semi-difference between a 8-year-old who, like, is forming something and, like, forming what they like or what they dislike. And then there's, like, things that can change about the sensory. Because also a thing I was also going to pull from the whole, like, color ordeal, and I think this can possibly apply to you, but again, not really. If it doesn't, then I could just, please just cut this from the script. I used to not like donuts.
Oh, good point.
I used to not like donuts at all. And then I just sort of gave it a couple of years, and then I just started liking donuts.
Yes.
So what part of the sensory is that?
So our taste buds change.
Taste buds change.
Yeah.
You develop, you get older.
Yeah.
The taste buds actually in your mouth change.
Okay,
I didn't
but
even like
again,
fish, and I was
mental wise, in terms of preferences do change. And I don't think that could be attributed to like a natural sort of like thing where we're not meant to be in a static, like...
Okay, can I use you as an example, Hen?
Yes.
All right, so you brought up donuts.
Yes.
Do you know why you didn't used to eat donuts?
Texture. Yeah, but then I got used to it.
Texture is a sensory.
Yes.
Okay, so as you got older, you were exposed to more textures.
Yes.
You, in your own physicality, desensitized yourself by touching other things, by becoming more aware of your surroundings.
Yeah.
And by trying different foods as you got older.
Yeah.
So if you remember, we never forced you to try food. It was always available. And then what happens? Then what happens then? Eventually you tried it.
Yeah.
Wasn't forced, but eventually you, in your own time, by being shown and being exposed, you eventually took the leap, tried it, and said, oh, I like it.
Yeah. But again, I do want to say, yes, even while that is good and all, I do want to say in terms of preference, on how preference works, I do not think we're meant to be in this static, like, how do I say that?
I know where he's going.
This static preference.
Yes. And, you know, we have to, that's a really good point to trigger to our parents.
Because, again, I would like to say that you all are treating this as like, once you have a preference, it is final and you like this.
No, not at all.
That's how I feel in this situation.
Gotcha.
How you all kept talking about that. Because the main way I see preference is that something that evolves over time and something that constantly changes and something it's like a brain cell. The more you try something, the more you like it, the stronger it gets.
So if we were to summarize this for everybody at home, you know, related to sensory processing, right? We always start with our senses.
Yes.
As babies, what are we learning? We're learning our environment. We're learning around us, from our touch, our smell, everything. We don't have preferences innate in us.
We have learned that if we scream, people will come.
That's right. We're learning.
Exactly.
And so one of the things that we can advocate to all of our families at home is that the science of learning is very clear.
Yeah.
As a parent, our goal is to learn how they learn. What are they learning and how are they learning? Right. So
perfect.
Back to your point, though, in terms of sensory processing, it all starts with sensories. As we develop our senses, we're developing our preferences, but our sensory processing and our preferences always change. So things that
they all intertwine.
They coexist. They go together. So as we are sensing things, we are learning things. As we are learning things, we are developing our preferences. And based on our preferences, that's how we're going to enjoy this world.
Yeah. Self-regulation. You know, that's how this all comes full circle, is because by your sensory understanding the world around you, based on your senses, you develop your preferences.
Yeah, and that makes you human.
Yes. And then as a parent, actually knowing your child's preferences. I'm going to give you a flashback. When you started doing your, student teaching, substituting, what did he come back and say? He was like, I can't believe some of these parents don't know what their kids are into. Mm-hmm. Just like what you're saying here about the t-shirts. When you're like, know what your kid is into, not just the game, but know why are they into the game. That is going to be key in order to calm down the sensory preference meltdowns, because it's going to cause not just the child to be able to regulate and balance because they know what they like and what causes it, but parents will be able to see those triggers. So if you walk into a room and you see that they're having a styrofoam party, I'm just using this because the styrofoam that gets all over the place. Or how about this? In our world, we have adults, employees, that will not deal with glitter.
That's me.
That's fair.
I don't like glitter.
So it gets everywhere. They can't get rid of it. But who would have thought? That's still a sensory processing issue for you.
Oh, I avoid it.
That is most definitely.
Slime or the
slime?
The texture, I don't like it.
It's most definitely a sensory thing because touch.
Yeah.
I think something too important that we touched on that I wanted to bring back to is the fact you have to expose your kid to these different situations.
Oh my goodness, yes.
It could end badly, it could end well, but you never know until you do it. Mm-hmm. And you just got to give them the opportunity sometimes.
Yes.
I think we talked about this in a previous episode, but
probably.
like getting your child to get into different things.
Yes.
Like trying to find like what makes them happy, what's their media that they'll enjoy.
Mm-hmm. And not being afraid of what could happen.
Correct. Missy's making a really good point here. Sometimes you have to expose them even though it's going to cause drama. And when I say drama, that could be, I'm going to have a sit-down pity party. I am going to have a meltdown. We used to have a student that any type of demand was put on him that he did not want, he would release in his pants because he knew that was escape for him. Yep. Mm-hmm. So I'm giving you these things because these will happen. The cute little kids on all the reels that people watch, they're having their meltdowns and little sassy pantses. Well, guess what? You're going to get one of those. But you have to have them exposed to it.
So that's from not regulating your child and letting them do what they want. And I feel like that's when you just sort of need to learn how to punish them. But that's just going to
you heard the word. Oh, we don't use that word. We don't use punishment. We've just got to take and show them the consequences. Mm-hmm. So funny. In Love and Logic, we do our training, and we've gone through now 2 sessions with our teachers, and that's just to revamp everything because that works hand in hand with ABA when we're talking about behavioral management within the classroom. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we just make this too complex, parents.
Yeah.
Make it as simplistic as possible. When you're looking at your child and you're looking at the environment around them and you start to see these little tells, like you'll see, oh, I don't want to wear this. Well, if that preference is coming in, deep dive it. Find out why is there a preference. And that's what we've learned today is our kids are showing us this. We just have to be able to look a little deeper into it. Mm-hmm. Just like foods. Well, I don't want the green bean, but I'll eat the broccoli. So that's not a color preference. That means there may be a texture there. Oh. So then we have to look at, well, maybe you won't eat the broccoli because the leaves, the top of the broccoli.
Or even the smell. Sometimes
you got to go into whole detective mode.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is particularly important for those kids that are non-vocal.
Yes.
That
they're
ways of communication.
They're speaking in different ways, Manny.
That's why I said non-vocal.
There you go.
They're verbal. They're just non-vocal, meaning they're not using words to express.
Yeah.
They're using screams and cries and pointing and gestures and things like that. Faces. And so learning what they're trying to tell you in terms of providing them, showing them all these different sensory things, and then seeing how they react.
Absolutely.
From there.
Yeah. Oh, I pick up with you all as my employees. I can tell. There's little tells. My sister knows if I start biting my bottom lip, watch out. She's like, okay, where's she going? She's building something.
Unhappy face.
Yes. Yeah. Loki knows. I can pick up on Loki. You can pick up on your kids.
Oh, mine is no eye contact.
That's avoidance. What's going on?
If I look away.
Yeah.
I just saw Manny as like a 9-year-old right there when you just did the little look away. But your kids do the same thing.
Oh, completely.
And I bet, Missy, you can hear your daughter scream above 10 other kids, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You just get in tuned
Yes.
to the kids' voices that you know the best. And also, if like your name, something like that, you hear your name so much better than other words. So yes, you hear your kids scream that much more and it cuts through.
Yeah.
I mean, even at work, we can be across the building and hear a scream like,
Know who that
is.
is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. I can walk into any of the campuses, even Rockledge, and go, oh, she's having a day today. And that's not even my child. So imagine the superpowers you have, mom and dads. Imagine if you actually took a step back and looked at yourself and how you handle the environment in your home. These are all wonderful tips and tricks for you. So I want to take a second right now to ask you to please hit the like button and drop us a comment down below. With all this new social media algorithms, that's what I'm being told we need to do now is we've got to start putting comments. Guys, I'm here for you. We're here to make sure that you have all the tools you need to be successful in your home. So I'd like each one of us to give each one of our families one thing to take away today. Something that if we could go home with just one tip from our lesson today, our, exposure today, because it's not really a lesson, it's exposure.
Okay.
Oh, he's got one. He's already tapped in.
I'd like to say that if I were to give away a tip, and I don't know if there's going to be a new trend that we do on these episodes.
Maybe.
I don't know. But either way, my whole ordeal, I'm going to say ordeal a lot nowadays, is that please just know what your child likes about what specific thing they like about media. Like, say, if they like Avengers, but you really don't know what, their favorite, superhero is. You gotta, bring up images and, see your child just tap the screen on something. Because what if your kid is a Hulk fan and you give him a Captain America toy?
They're gonna be sad.
That's a really good point, though, Loki.
And not even that. What if you misinterpret, the type of merchandise you give them, and instead of a Hulk action figure, you give them
Loki,
a Hulk hat, the one that doesn't even fit their size.
So you're saying get to know your kid.
Yes, but there's more depth to that. Get to know the media that your kid likes.
Alrighty.
Then this doesn't mean you have to like the media. You can always just tap out, have an assistant always just play the media for you, but you have to do at least some research to get the good gift that your child wants, because at the end of the day, they still have preferences just like a human being.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good.
They are a human being.
Yeah, well,
I hope so.
No, I'm saying don't look up AI best gifts to give to a child.
Nope, I got you.
Your kid.
100%. Oh.
All right, I'm passing it on to you.
Amazon's best gifts for a 16-year-old.
Loki said no.
Yeah.
It hasn't failed yet, but it will.
So what's your? I was going to say, what's your tip? We're going for the gentleman here. So what's your tip?
My tip is just know that every step of the way, if they don't like something for whatever reason, whether it's sensory related or preference that they've developed over time, all you're doing is, as a parent, is you're learning how they learn. You're learning what they learned. You're learning what they prefer. So based on that, if they are having a meltdown, if they are screaming bloody murder, if their face is red and their tears are shedding down and they are convulsing, they've learned their sensory overload. And so what do? You got to learn how they can bring that down, how they can get back to a regulated state. And it may be deep squeezes. We've talked about that. It may be water. It may be a food that they want. It may be a toy that they prefer, something that can help deregulate them. But you can't get there unless you've already learned how they learn.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Missy?
So I'd say my main takeaway is going to be kind of piggybacking off what Manny was talking about, but when in doubt, if you're totally lost as to why your kiddo is having a moment right now, look to the 5 senses. Got the touch, tactile, environmental, how is the temperature feeling, taste, if they happen to be eating or drinking, who knows, got the sight, smell, and then hearing. And all of that, it could be, these lights don't bother me, but a kid on the spectrum, that could bother them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that would be mine.
Nice.
So moms, dads, caregivers, what I want you to do is remember that this should be fun. This should be fun for the child that you're taking care of, as well as yourself. Sit back and laugh at yourself. It's okay. We all screw up. We all do. No one is perfect. We are all perfectly flawed, meant to be the way that we truly are. When you look at your child, whether they're having a temper tantrum, whether they're having a meltdown, it's your child that needs you. It doesn't matter exactly why. It's your job as detective parent and caregiver to try to break down the walls so that you and your child can come to the same level ground. So guys, from our home to yours, we'll see you again on the Purple Couch Podcast.